All right, welcome everyone. Chapter 13. In this chapter, it's called Two Illustrations, which is a very beautiful topic. Chapter 9. So in this chapter, we have two very different scenarios playing out. In this chapter, in the last chapter, Aphraar and Cushna were coming back to the earth and we're talking about their experiences. And they were coming back to earth to witness how one of the women that was being helped to heal in a beautiful palace got pulled back because somebody was grieving for her. So she got pulled back to the grave because that's where the other woman is crying. So this chapter is about that experience and then about the experience of, yay, we meet Robert James Lee. So that's happening in this chapter. So the first question I came up with was, from what I've learned, we're supposed to release our grief. So this situation is confusing because Cushna talked about what an error it is and what a harm she's doing by grieving for the woman that she believes has died, which means she's gone. And Cushna's perspective is, look at the damage this is doing. And it is, it's pulling her back from being rested, back to earth. She almost has no choice about it because the love cord pulls her back. So I'm going, but she's grieving, she's crying. Why is that a bad thing? What's going on here? So that's my question. And I really don't have an answer. I'm really asking the question. So who wants to start? Michaela?
I thought in the email you spoke about your experience when your dad died.
Yeah.
And how you were grieving for his loss and for his experience rather than for your sense of loss of him. Yeah. And I felt that's kind of what's going on here, is that the physical sister that's crying is crying just in her own false beliefs about what's happened and her own need for the other woman to be there. It's all caught up in her own experience. Right. And seems no interest to understand even that she is there and that she has come from this beautiful place. So it's just causing harm, really.
So because, I mean, if grief is triggered, it's good to feel it. But are we saying that she's not actually grieving? Is that what this is? Like, why is this? Because otherwise we're saying, please suppress your grief. But then you're saying she's crying from a place of a lie, of a false belief. Is that?
Well, yeah, it feels like it could be a tantrum that she's having rather than grief.
Okay.
And more about her addictions or the way that her life has changed, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I like that. Thank you. That is a tantrum. Okay, thank you. Selena?
Well, I think when you really don't have any kind of positive faith about people having a better life in the spirit world,
right,
then you can't balance that against your own grief of loss, particularly with young people, you know, because there's just so many things you didn't get to do with you, and you didn't get to do together, and so it's grieving all of those potentials. And then when there is no balance of, but yet they're having a wonderful life where they are now, that's more than makes up for what they wouldn't have experienced here. So it's really just me that's not going to have that experience.
Yeah,
it might change things, but most of us don't really believe that.
No.
Okay. And I'm not even sure I would if I lost a child.
That's right.
I don't really know how I just don't even know how that would look unless I experienced it.
Yeah.
In terms of not doing that to them, like just having because it would have to come from a really unselfish place.
Exactly.
And a real solid faith that you are harming them by doing it, like real solid. Yeah.
Okay. But it's okay. We'll continue with that later. Jill?
So it would be coming from a place of kind of faith, sort of, if you're grieving in your own loss, that's grieving out of being self-reliant, whereas grieving out of faith or God reliant, you're then grieving out of faith. Like you're grieving out of that loss of, well, I don't even know what that would mean, but like that's sort of the difference between, I think, what they're trying to say. Like grieving out of faith rather than what she is doing is grieving out of that self-reliant, that I will never see her again. I'm going to miss her. I'm going to not have, I'm not going to grow old with her. I'm, which is that self-reliant kind of, that selfish place.
Okay.
That's kind of what I got.
So basically, Selena did say it, but I didn't quite hear it until you said it, which is faith. This is about faith. The lack of faith or corrupt faith is creating these emotions that are painful to everyone involved. It's basically what I'm hearing so far. It's the lack of faith.
Yeah, because if she was grieving, right, if she was grieving out of faith, then she would know that she is safe, that she's resting, that she's going to be happy, she's going to, all the things that we want to say, that, oh well, they're not in pain anymore, they're not, all the things that we want to say that to make us feel better. But she would actually know that, like she would actually have the faith to say, you're good now, right?
Yes.
You're in God's hands, you're good.
God is good. God is good, and therefore you are going to be taken care of or supported or helped or
right.
I see it now. Right. I see the lack of faith playing. Okay, thank you. Was it Judith first? I can't remember who it was, but Judith, do you want to go?
Yeah, I thought it was the young girl is grieving because she thinks her sister is completely gone and will never be there. And then I feel like the sister's being pulled because she's the cause of her sister's grief. And so how does that make you feel? You feel awful. Like it's all her fault, but it really isn't her fault. So that's why she's magnetically drawn to try and fix it.
Yeah.
And she feels helpless too at first because she doesn't know how can she fix it? She can't hear her because she thinks So
Cushna call it, what was it? He called it the love cord, so like the purple lines or something. It was a love that pulls, like a kind of an unhealed aspect of love that pulled her back. But yeah, I mean, obviously she is feeling distressed, like, oh, you're sad, I'm coming, right? That's what she said when she woke up, I'm coming. Got it. Yeah.
That's even more stressful to her because she can't.
Yeah. Okay. Again, but it's a lack of faith that Selena mentioned. Right. My sister is gone. Yeah. Which is not true.
Yeah. And ironically, I wrote a story online for something, and one of the characters dies, and this woman was talking about how, well, my mother's been dead and I always talk to her and everyone thinks I'm crazy.
Right.
It was really interesting that came up this week.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Okay. Okay. Virginia?
In the book, though, the story, it does say that there is a provision because she was asleep. So they were keeping her asleep for that time. Yeah. So I'm wondering if that happens with everyone that passes, because
I don't know.
It gives us for time, those are left behind for that selfish grief of missing the person.
Yeah.
Disrupting their own healing. Yeah. But the sister that passed also had, it sounded like she was the caregiver, so she's pulled like that. She has to assist, right? So it's like it's sympathy again, is what I thought is what they're
kind of matching addictions. She's a caregiver, she wants to be cared for.
So I'm thinking, like, is that because I felt my grandmother around me and she died when I was 8.
Right.
is one of the reasons why I believed in life after death, is feeling her around me.
Yeah.
And so then sometimes I would, like, through difficult times, I'd want her company, right? So I'm thinking, am I being selfish? Am I keeping her from her own progression by doing that?
Right.
Because
Right. Or is it that because you were going through a difficult time, your grandmother offered to care for you, and that's why you felt her and then let her in? Could be the other way around too.
Yeah.
Could be the reason why you even thought of her.
I'm just wondering though, is that do you think that that happens with everyone when they die, that they're asleep for a while because then they don't feel that grieving time,
It's-
not being pulled back, so allow time for those of us that are in the physical world to grieve them? And then
again, I mean, this is way above my pay grade. I have no idea. But I encourage you to stay in the questions so that your guides can, because when we have to ask these kind of questions, our guides have to educate us to create the framework to even understand the messages. So it usually take me years to be able to comprehend the answers. Yeah, but it's okay to not know. Yeah, it's okay to not know.
It's a beautiful provision, from both, right? Those physical world and the spirit world. Yeah. If that is the way it works, I think it is a beautiful provision.
But most of us suppress our emotions so much, it takes death to trigger it. So that's why I'm going, well, now that death has happened, emotions are triggered. Are you saying even that's like, like, come on, she's feeling the feelings, but she's tantruming. And unfortunately, though, most of us, that's the layer we start. That is the layer we start. She's not meeting my addictions anymore. Now I'm in a tantrum. So I hope to ask a further question. Maybe we can actually ask, what would have been, she's got emotions. What would owning it have looked like? Maybe that's a question we could ask. Or maybe I can ask later if you come up with another question that we want to know more about. So, okay.
It's interesting you should ask that question, because I was getting some ideas around that. The fact that nice. she's in a tantrum, and that if she was capable to recognize that she was in a tantrum and to really have that tantrum experience rather than trying to pull Lizzie into it, she'd probably connect to some emotions that have got nothing to do with Lizzie, and probably related to maybe abandonment, and it could be related to anything, but it's not about Lizzie.
Okay. Even a tantrum, if she was owning it, she would have gone deeper into the addictions. Yeah.
And through that journey, she would have gained some truth around Lizzie's reality. So that would have eased the burden more.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, it's a kind of a slippery slope of like, you need to go into your emotions, but then what does that look like if you were to honor the process? Yeah, good point. Thank you. Wow, lots of thoughts brought up there. I want to stay in the question. I feel like when we ask question and we stir stuff up, we keep our soul open to receiving answers. So I'm not going to satisfy the question. I'm going to leave it simmering. Keep us open to like being able to be helped to understand. More and more, I'm beginning to appreciate that we have guides who know stuff. So why the hell are we working so hard trying to figure stuff out? Just stay in the tension of the question. They'll sort it. Somebody already know the answer, and we're already provided with the right teacher for our nature to explain and teach us. Like, come on, what a goodie to have. I'll take it. Okay, so the next question. So basically in this, what happened is, so Lizzie was encouraged to speak to the sister, and the sister heard her like 3 times. And then she got excited, and then she went running home to tell her parents, oh my God, she just spoke to me, she's not dead. And then the way they reacted to her shut it down. So I'm going, okay, and Aphraar is getting excited. Oh my God, death, there's no such thing. It's over. There's no mist. Yay. Look at how wonderful it's going to be. Hey, down it goes. So why did Aphraar begin? Why did Cushna begins Aphraar's education in mediumship in this way? Why was this his first experience? Why do you think that was how it was set up for him? Again, I don't have the answer. I just have questions. Jill.
Oops, there we go. The one thing that I kind of got was like somebody has to be in the right soul condition in order to have a conversation with you. That's easy.
Okay.
And that it is possible. It's just not possible with everybody right at the moment. It can be, but it's just not possible right at the moment. So like to keep Aphraar on sort of, I want to say on track, like to not quell his expectations, but maybe quell his demands or bring light to his demands, that I can have this conversation with anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
Then, right. So that's, I think, you know, and to show that it's also not an immediate thing. Like it's like somebody, you know, you have to sort of ease them into it, and you have to have that prayer to be able to say, yes, you can accept these, this is true. You know, it's there's a lot more to it than just sitting down and talking with Robert J. Lees, right? Yeah.
Okay, others? Michaela?
I got the sense that it's kind of like a lesson plan. Like Aphraar has this goal of wanting to be able to connect to Earth. And so they've created this whole plan for him. And this is a part of the plan. And it's an opportunity to highlight all the issues that need to be engaged with before you are going to a connection that's going to achieve what you're wanting to achieve with your plan.
And what are some of the issues that were highlighted in this example?
The false beliefs, like I feel like that was a...
And which ones I'm asking everyone here, which false beliefs got pointed out? Yeah, do you have some, Michaela, on top of your head, or?
The lack of belief in a life after death.
That is huge, eh? So there's no belief. Okay, that's a good one. Okay, what else? Anybody else? Virginia?
Communication is not possible between both worlds.
Yeah, okay. That's a huge belief there. Unless it's the devil. He can talk to you. Jill?
It's a good lead in. If you talk to spirits, you're insane.
Insane. And yeah, okay. You can survive being insane, by the way. I mean, that's just okay, thank you. What other beliefs do you feel was happening with the parents, with the family environment? Michaela?
The dynamic between the sisters and the parents, the fact that she, as soon as her idea was squashed, she didn't challenge, she completely forgot her experience as being valid, basically.
So her addiction of somebody already decided, oh, you poor thing, you're so sad, you've lost your mind. And then she chose to shut it down. Okay, that's a good point. Good observation. Yeah, she did say, oh, well done. Yeah, okay. She didn't trust her own experience, her own heart that could feel like, that's my sister. I know her. Okay, thank you. What else? I think for me, what really got highlighted for me was that these belief systems we just happen to have are like real concrete walls. when it comes to something coming in and it just bounces right off of you. Like they're not just some ideas you have that you just like, oh, well, I just have some false beliefs. No, they have a lot of power. So I got kind of frightened by looking at, wow, how powerful these false beliefs are once they enter you. You're just like, oh, well, she's just sad and she's lost her mind. Boom, you just threw something out. Like it was just a passing thought of a belief or a dogma. But that dogmas have a lot of power in our soul. So I'm kind of freaked out about it. Going, whoa, what else do I have in there that, I could have angels surround me all the time and I don't even just off you go. How scary that is. Judith?
As a parent's false belief about what happens when a person dies also really affecting the situation?
Very.
Yes.
And interestingly, we may have intellectual ideas on that we know about what we have in our emotions because we don't know, or we think that sometimes you think, oh, I know what happened. I don't even want to investigate what I actually feel. But that's the one that's really running the show. So to not be in denial, I guess this is why Jesus like to emphasize, don't be in denial about your issues because they're having such an impact on you. You don't even realize it. It's like, what do I believe about what happens after death? I can feel I still have some fears about it. Yeah, I can see some fears coming up in me right now about it. So, Kayla, go ahead. Sorry.
You were talking about you could be surrounded by angels and you don't even know. And I think it's interesting at the start of this chapter, Aphraar comments on the energetic exchange between Lizzie and Sarah. And I just, as I read that, I had this full image of there's this thing going on that is going on, but it's coming towards you. You're taking it to there, like there's this tangible thing going on. But it's like we have blinkers on and we're refusing to acknowledge that this thing going on around us.
Yeah.
So that's the false beliefs.
That's the false beliefs. I was just showing one of my addictions, which is if the majority of people won't believe in mediumship and this kind of relationship, I'm choosing to be in harmony with the group because of my addiction of wanting to be in harmony with majority. It's like, I know what I know. I do mediumship all the time. But yet I will not speak about it because I want to stay in harmony with the majority people. That's the addiction. The addiction I have is towards, so I just got shown that. That's a good one to work through. I can feel my fear. Yep, nope, I'm definitely in harmony with that right now. Okay, thank you. Do we have more about, do you have some kind of realization, some kind of a sadness when you read that chapter about how the family responded? Do you have some feelings about that? Selena?
I just had a feeling of how when I bring up mediumship with my family, it's that like talking to spirits, like they're afraid for you.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So that
feeling.
So that is kind of what puts, not so much that I want to fit in or even that they don't necessarily believe in such a thing so much, but when mom does it, they're afraid for me. Somebody can do it on TV and make millions of dollars and that's okay, that's cool. But if mom does it, she's afraid for me because there's something about me that's not as special as that person or something.
Don't bring it into the living room. It's over there.
Pardon? What was that?
Don't bring it into my living room. It's over there.
Somewhere. It's like entertainment or it's something else. It's not what you're doing. What you're doing is scary to me. That you're doing that. Scary that you're making yourself nuts.
Exactly.
So
I want to placate people's fears. That's the next
Yeah.
layer of my addiction. Okay, thank you. Virginia?
The dismissiveness is,
Yeah,
I feel that. I
okay.
feel that. And the
Yeah.
dismissiveness of just not even entertaining that it could be possible. And
Yeah.
just really dismissing it as you being, you know, a flake or whatever that people think.
Exactly.
And sometimes it's kind of condescending, like you're sort
It
of
is.
intellectually deficit that you cannot
Yeah.
understand. You know, you're doing something that isn't real, that doesn't
Yeah.
exist. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have an addiction that I need to be taken seriously, because otherwise, how am I going to survive? So, right, being a naturopathic doctor is already in the fringe now. I talk to spirits. Oh my God, what else? I will never survive. So there's these kind of emotions and addictions I have. Yeah.
Yeah, it made me realize how
Yeah.
many things I've actually done in approval and move away from that. And now I'm just wanting to head on straight forward to it. You can
Yeah.
have like, or whatever you can think of me, and I'm just, I don't know, I'm starting to not be as affected by it, to not
Nice.
so much, because I know it's real. I know how real it is and how much help I receive, and
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. So moving on to question 3. Why is Cushna now taking Aphraar to see Robert James Lee's? What is the contrast that Aphraar is trying to make clear to, no, Cushna is trying to make clear to Aphraar? What have you understood for yourself from seeing this contrast? So why these two very different experiences of mediumship? What is the point? What is the lesson Cushna is trying to make? Judith.
I think it's like what Michaela said. He's got a class going on. He's got here's the worst case or like a bad situation. Now here's how good it can be, at this time, or possibly, as good as it is for those two. Because I'm sure as we grow, maybe we'll even see the people in person. Who knows, when you're really mediumistic. But
So,
he's like teaching him a lesson, basically. He's just like got a whole plan, because that's what Aphraar wants to do.
but what is the lesson he was able to give? What is the contrast that Aphraar saw from having these two opposite experiences?
I guess that they're very opposite. It's the frustration of, talking to someone and they still don't get it. Yeah. And then what happens when you can actually communicate with somebody and they can verbatim write down what you've just said.
Yeah.
If the communication is that clear.
Okay.
And then Lee's didn't have any kind of emotional issues or anything with it. It was like he was just talking to a friend.
So he didn't have any dogmas, or he's already worked through the dogmas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Jill.
Yeah, because I think at one point they said that, now was it in the book or in the recording? I can't remember, that they did a lot of work with James, that to be able to have him as a medium.
Yes.
So I think the lesson that I got is I want to say the quality of the medium. Like having somebody that is actually trained and prepared, and that it's not going to freak them out, and all of that, that it's that the quality of the medium is important.
Okay. Thank you. Michaela.
When I first read the chapter, I kind of just thought, well, it's about a different level of love. But then we listened to the recording, and so then I felt a little bit confused. But then I just sort of sitting with it, And what I was getting the sense of the difference is that RJ Lees was prepared to not know and was open to the unknown, whereas Lizzie was very much defined by this, that's wrong, so that's not what's happening. So it closed down any opening to understanding the truth.
Okay. It's okay to not know. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good quality. What else? Michael.
I'm noticing that between Lizzie and Sarah, it was kind of love or sympathy made the bonds.
Yeah.
It was kind of a layman's or an amateur thing.
Yeah.
And she was still had very affected by other people's opinions.
Yeah.
In the environment that she went back to. But then with Robert James Lees, it worked due to his spirituality, he said. So here's a person that was trained, actually, he's a medium, his vocation. And so there's more, while it's possible to talk person to person across the veil, you'll have better results if you're able to speak to a medium that's got some training or got some clarity.
Yeah. Now there has to be love though, in Robert James to be able to receive some kind of love of truth, love of service, curiosity. There has to be some kind of love to allow for you to be able to speak and receive from celestial spirits, I'm assuming. And also, I guess he either didn't have as many blocks or the blocks were removed. Or maybe he didn't have as much addiction to be in alignment with the majority society. I'm trying to guess here in what worked. Yeah. Other ideas?
I guess he had divine love too, to
I
make
wonder,
him like
right?
the Celestials.
Yeah, I wonder. No, Michaela, you don't think he had that yet?
Oh, just listening to the recording, I thought Jesus said he hadn't experienced God's love, and that was why he was still in the sixth sphere.
Oh, my God, that's true. Yeah, that was the issue he hasn't confronted. And it was I was surprised to go, whoa, you may think you have love and truth in you, but emotionally, you still got to go to those places. Good point. Thank you, Michaela. But he has something else then that allowed for sympathy, basically. Judith?
Yeah, in that recording, he also mentioned when he passed, he was actually in the first sphere and things were not very good. And he got pulled a lot by smoking, I guess. And he used to smoke. And plus being someone somewhat important on Earth, like people were trying to.
Right.
There's a bit of ego in there. But I just think I think it was Michaela that said it again. It was like just an openness for truth and to learn something without fear and without those untruths and false beliefs that we have that the other girl had.
So basically we could be not very developed emotionally or soul condition, but have some kind of a quality like humility, openness, and the gift of mediumship, and you can still receive very high caliber information. Like, this is wow. We can feel our first emotions coming through the books, well,
that's what's kind of interesting, because you would think he would have to be in a better condition from what.
Well, I did remember reading somewhere that the reason why Aphraar could see the room so clearly was because Robert James and Aphraar were in similar sphere, top of first sphere. So he was a top of first sphere. And that's why, because it was so similar to each other, the room was clear. He could see Robert James clearly in the room clearly. I do remember reading that, listening to that somewhere. But there seemed to be a trust. Robert James trusts who he's getting versus the sisters. She trusted who she got, but then kind of shut down and didn't trust what she got. So there seemed to be some kind of a faith or trust happening here that Robert James trusts who's speaking to him. But I'm also getting this idea that there were a lot of protection around him, like all the social spirits were protecting him to maintain his purity so that he could stay in a place of trust. He could trust who were being brought to him. He was Earth's best kept secret. Michaela?
I wonder if it's a bit of a combination of things as well. Like you said, curiosity, and you likened curiosity to love, which I thought was good. But I think having that curiosity to be open-minded to information, and also just not having the resistance to the flow of information from the celestials. Because I feel like we all have that potential, don't we, to receive, but there's just one thing that stops it. So for some reason, maybe and spiritual curiosity was part of the reason why he didn't have that resistance.
Okay. Yeah. And what are some of those qualities that he has had that it does, even though yes, he had some addictions and he liked his drink, he seems to be like a somebody that liked people, or somebody that believed that people are good. Maybe there's some kind of an innocence that didn't get destroyed, or a willingness to trust, a willingness to hold on to that innocence of the good of brotherhood. I feel like there's something there that was able to be maintained, I'm guessing. Jill?
So as we're talking, I'm actually getting more confused, because in the recording, he mentioned, like, Jesus asked him, well, didn't you believe what you were being told?
Right.
And he said, well, there's stories. Like, I like the stories. So he believed that he was just making up stories, or he was writing stories. I don't know if he actually believed that they were spirits talking to him about the truth.
Okay.
So yeah, there had to have been some spirit influence. They saw an opening. Maybe he had a lot of faith.
Yeah, there's
I don't
something
know.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had received this invitation for a while now to write down the stories of spirits that's passed. They want to come tell me about the stories. And I've said, okay, I'm willing to try it up to a third sphere, maybe. I don't know if I can handle more. To tell me about what their life was like after they passed and all of that. And then I said, and I'm just going to pretend they're stories. I actually said that. And I'm just writing down a story. I'm going to take off the pressure of accuracy off of myself. Otherwise, I'm just going to freak out and just lose a connection. So I can see how I myself have this kind of like, I'm just going to step back a little bit and just go, I'm just going to write some fictions. I know it's true, but I'm going to call it a story so that it's just fun and it just flows. You're just telling me your story. I don't know if it's accurate. I'm not going to put that pressure on myself. So I can kind of see how, okay, I see where he went with that and how that actually helps. It's actually going to help me to just relax and let things happen. And see what happens when I start writing stuff down. But the pressure of it, is it accurate? Am I accurate? It kind of turns me off, like it shuts down my flow. So maybe I can see how he gave himself the permission to just go, I'm just writing stories, because if I think too hard about this, I'm going to freak out. Maybe. Really imagine celestial spirit coming there, sitting, talking to you every day. Ooh, I'm freaking out right now. So here we go. Julia?
I always felt like that he, even though he hadn't received divine love, but he perhaps had a lot of natural love, and he had expanded.
Oh yeah.
And so that affected how he led his life and how he treated himself and others, putting him in a soul condition, even though that he still had some other beliefs that, weren't all in alignment with a celestial spirit, of course, but that, still you can be in a really good soul condition if you have a lot of natural love and expanded.
Okay.
Yeah, living with it.
Well, I just thought of a question we could ask Aphraar afterward. Okay. Judith.
Yeah, I just think he wasn't doing it for the money or for the glory. And I think that made a big difference too. Because if you do it for the glory, you're going to get a lot of dark people manipulating you. So
they kind of buffered him, protected him from that a bit. Okay. So can you kind of see the contrast that was created for Aphraar? And can you see maybe why? Why do you think the contrast was created for Aphraar? What are they preparing him for? What is it they're trying to get into him? What understanding? Are they maybe trying to tell him that a lot of preparation needs to happen? There are a lot of blocks on earth, and then maybe also kind of a respect for, like, what a gift, like to respect that. Or I feel like what I got was that dogma sucks. That's the name of the chapter for me. Like, you can really block things when you have false beliefs. That just, it enters you, and then if you don't confront it, consciously go after it, and it just runs your life. Like, false beliefs, hate them. Michaela, do you? Yeah, go ahead.
I think recognize people's limitations, and to recognize that you have to meet someone where they're at. You can't force.
Yeah, and that actually takes us into the next set of questions. Yeah, Michael.
Maybe just to help Fred know that he could not do this with just anybody that he happened to have a rapport with.
Okay.
I mean, because the spirits seeing the bigger picture, they would know, okay, we can get this. Fred can talk through James and get his message through. But part of this is also for us, we're the truth is showing us what the qualities of a good medium are, and the importance of these characteristics.
Yeah.
So there's a dual role, but okay.
Yeah. Hopefully the question I want to ask will inspire us a little bit. Oh, Selena?
What just hit me was I think they really want Aphraar to see that Lise is a real precious resource.
Yeah.
And to treat him gently and carefully, and to understand that he is still a man working with all of the things.
Yeah.
And that he's pretty clear, but it's still, he is also responsible for that relationship. Aphraar is. Keep it clear and treat Lise like he's a precious resource.
It's that respect. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, like not burden him too much, or give him too much at once, or more than he can handle, or push too hard, or which would easily do, because he always gets so excited, right, about everything, right? Like I could see him doing that. Yeah.
Okay. So what are the two simple truths Cushna points out to Aphraar about spirit communication? Now, Cushna is a man of few words. So if he just say two things, you could spend the rest of your life just exploring two things. Again, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that. And it's like, no. Do I really know that? Why did Cushna make such like a whole chapter? All of that was to emphasize, I'm assuming, these 2 points. So what are these 2 points Cushna is pointing out? Who wants to go? I mean, you work a little bit this time. and then give you an extra week. Who wants to go? Don't tell me you did not look for the answers. Did you not look for the answers? Seriously? What? Okay. Judith.
Well, it's the law of free will and the law of rapport and how important that is. And they said if you have that, you pick what you can deal with, as you said in the book, and the power of sympathy that like attracts like.
Okay.
That's what I got.
Okay. We have a choice, right? Point number one, we have a choice. You are free to choose. Most people choose the thing that feels the most comfortable, or I can use the word congenial or something, right? So we are free to choose. So that's a really important point. The way the chapter got laid out, the man of few words said two things. So I'm listening. He's a good teacher. We have a choice. You are free to choose where you are as you are right now. You get to choose. And two, sympathy. And now I'm going, okay, I really don't understand sympathy. I don't understand. I don't understand what he's referring to. So, Selena.
Yeah, my two answers kind of same, what you just said. Freedom of will is the first one, that people will go to what is familiar and natural to them. And two, that like attracts like. You have to go past the comfortable, confront, desire to learn more, or you will just stay there. Right?
Okay.
Desire to learn more. Assume you need to learn more. Just assume you do. Don't just go, okay, I know it all. This feels good. You have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are free to choose. You tend to choose what's comfortable, but that's going to keep you stuck. You gotta be willing to choose to be uncomfortable or to pick the unknown.
Like people stay in the second or third long time because they're comfortable, and like Aphraar's mother, just why would I? So you have to assume you need to learn more. Just assume there's more, and you need it, and it's good for you, and you will love it, and
gotta have some faith there, right? You gotta have So basically, as we are right now, we can have spirit communication. We can choose to. We are probably going to want to lean into the comfortable, and we can choose not to. It's a choice. It's not that you're stuck with that layer that you're comfortable with. There's a choice to be made there. Okay. Anybody else? Sympathy, what can you teach me about it? I'm stuck with that, actually, to be honest. Kayla?
I think it's really cool how Robert James Lee's passed it in the first or second or whatever, but that he was communicating with the celestial spirits. So it's definitely worth understanding what he had going on that was happen.
They would materialize physically. Oh my God! Like, are you freaking like? I'm going to lose my mind. I want it so bad. They would materialize physically. He was comfortable with it. They could, with all the laws they got to obey around that. Like, oh my God, I want it. You can see my desire right there. It's a good one, Michaela. Exactly. Like, we want to know, how did he do that? Could you imagine if I could say, if I were to write a medical textbook on being in harmony with God, and I'm a clear enough channel to have somebody like Cushna just scribe the textbook. Holy smokes. What is that? What? So, Jill?
I don't think this was on topic, so don't.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, like Jesus has said that if it doesn't enter your heart, you don't carry it with you after you die. So, I don't think he believed what he was writing. he didn't actually think that this was, he just thought them stories. So it's like, well, that'd be nice if it were true, but you know, whatever. And when he passed, it didn't come with him. So he didn't understand any of it.
But you know, he still ended up at 6th year. I mean, it's you know, it's a good life. He still ended up at 6th year by the time he spoke to Jesus. Like it's still.
Yeah.
And
Now,
look at the good it's doing now. What did it serve? Right? Did his gift serve? Even if he
absolutely.
didn't. Yeah, exactly. Like, look at the impact.
But when he passed originally, it was, you know, he just ended up in the first sphere. So, but it's like it took him probably a lot less time than if somebody who didn't channel Aphraar or didn't have that experience. It took him a lot less time, and then that sort of that one last layer that he needed.
Yeah. Did you?
Well, I thought the law of sympathy.
Yeah.
I don't know, was that a law? I guess that's under the law of rapport, because Aphraar wants to give something, but Lise is very willing to receive it. There's some enjoyment there for him in receiving these messages and writing in these writings. He's curious about it, and he's just opened and willing to receive. So I guess that's how rapport works. Somebody, you know, if you want to give something, that person wants to receive what you're giving.
Right. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
And I was trying to think, like, I thought, well, when I first thought about that, like 2 things, I figured that it would be like desire, but I'm not sure how it all works together, because I always thought that was so strong.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know. To me, I think the sympathy is really
key.
and how that works, how I see it working anyway.
But
can be in a good way, or in a way that actually degrades your soul condition, right? It's willingness to give and somebody willing to receive that.
Yeah, exactly. Judith?
I think we should ask him. I think we should, I mean, I wouldn't mind trying to experiment and asking him.
Asking Robert James?
Yeah, like, what did he do? How did he get to, what is his opinion on how he was able to do this?
Yeah, that would be a really good question to ask. I have a question to ask for Aphraar anyway, but that's I mean, he must be a celestial spirit by now, hopefully. I don't know, can't tell. But even then, I mean, we can still receive information from him. It would be very curious to ask him, or even to ask Aphraar. Like, well, actually, kind of ties into the question I want to ask still. Okay, that's a good one. And I mean, you can talk to your guides anytime. This is what we're talking about here. And it's good that we're getting curious, going, how did he do it? What was it that he had? He wasn't open to God, never received God's love, kind of okay in soul condition, and yet look what he did. Like, how? But if he can do it, come on, what must I have? What could I have? What's possible for me? That's where I want us to go. What is already happening? Am I already mediumistic? Am I already receiving God's inspiration, my guide's information? Like, it's probably already happening all the time, and I don't even know it. Michaela?
I was just thinking about curiosity and also sympathy. Like, I just get this sense that when you're curious and you don't assume that you know, you're leaving yourself completely open to any information. So, but whereas if you have a fixed belief, your sympathy is going to go into communicating around that fixed belief.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I think desire and curiosity, when you really want to know something, you're open enough that you will overcome your feeling that you're not worthy of information from your celestial spirit. Like, I have times when I'm kind of having this moment of like, oh my God, there's celestial spirits, and I don't know. And then I go, but my spirit guides are supposed to spirits too. I usually forget that. I talk to them all the time. That's fine. I don't know what sphere they're in, 14 something, like, isn't that a freaking good deal? So, you know, it's this, I guess, rapport. Like, so when I was sick last week, you know, I was quite sick, you know, I was like basically just rocking back and forth saying, God help me. And I received a prayer I need to stay in. So I'm asking God for help. Totally fine with saying, God help me endure, help me stay in this. I really need this. And then I start to feel Cushna. And I go, wait, sorry, I didn't mean to bother you. I was asking God for help. I didn't. And then I'm going, huh? You know, the thought was like, well, I asked God for help, but I didn't mean God to send somebody to help me. I didn't mean to bother you. See that? My what jumped in? And then Omra came in to do something really cool to help me. I was too sick to even fight by that point. And then again, the first feeling was, I didn't mean to bother you. Then I'm going, I asked God for help and God sent people to help me. So what was the second part of the problem for me? So my feeling of what blocks it. There's some people that like are too much to come and help me. I didn't mean to bother them. And if that's how I'm feeling, when I'm already so comfortable with my guides and asking for help, like, what's it like for everybody when that feeling of what come in? So I think curiosity and desire temporarily make you forget that you think you're not worthy. It helps you skip over that block and let stuff come in. That could be how it works. Selena.
Oh, and I also think the other thing going on with Lise is he's a natural medium. Like I think Jesus has said, when you don't have blocks.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you have even more love or more anything. You just aren't blocked in that. It's just a natural gift that you have and you're not blocked. I know 2 of my kids have actually seen spirits, and it wasn't even because they wanted to or they were praying to. And I'm going, oh man, I would love that.
Yeah,
Give me that. I can't have that. And they don't even want it. And they've seen spirits. They're like, I don't want to do that.
Wow.
I don't like it. Yeah. So why? And I couldn't even tell you why they aren't blocked to having seen that. Like what's in them that's different. I have no idea.
I think that when our generation, when we're working through our fears and even despite our fears are still allowing it to happen, then I think those blocks just disappear in the younger generation. You know, we give them the gift of that.
Well, I've always kind of really been fascinated by anything to do with spirit world or spirituality or ghost hunters or anything like that. Like it never scared me or anything. And if a kid ever said that they felt grandma or something, oh yeah, that's great, you know?
Yeah.
You know, like I never pushed that away. And so a couple of our kids have had that experience a few times.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
By my daughter, that they see. And sometimes it's been great and sometimes not, you know.
Okay. Thank you. Michael?
Right after Cushna tells him about the materialization, Aphraar says, Cushna, how can this be? And then he says, when we have the necessary basis of love to work upon and a waiting mind to answer when we speak, the man who hears us will be heard by us and be responded to when he calls. Wow. This is part of it too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I like that you highlighted that. Like if you can let that sink in, going, wow, like when he calls, we will answer. How is that? I'm really interested in the materialization bit. Like that just, I think I've had 2 instances that I can say somebody showed up physically. One was probably only about 2 months ago when I wanted my daughter that passed to materialize, and I think she did. We had this interesting interaction with somebody, a woman, that I'm going, I think that was my daughter. Anyway, where am I going? So the next part of the question is, right, Cushna said that there's great thirst for knowledge on earth that is conducive to mediumship, but we may have a touch for knowledge and break free from some areas, but then we have other areas in other area which then create that sympathy for lower minds. So what are some of the areas we can have that affects mediumship, even though we really want to know truth? And what are some of those that affects you or have affected you in the past that you have now broken free from? What do you think? Especially when if you look around at mediumistic people, other people, and how they're using it, what are some of your guesses? Jill?
Something I definitely haven't broken through with, but self-worth is,
Okay.
I think, a big factor in mediumship. Like
Okay.
knowing what you're hearing and actually believing yourself. Right?
Yeah. Believing in your experience. Okay. Okay. What else? Well, okay, but what kind of area can you have that will dilute the kind of attraction you will have, what the kind of spirit you're going to have? They may even lie to you and say, "I'm Jesus," and it's not. But you know what create that kind of a mixture where you're like, I really want truth, but I have all these other areas that end up attracting a spirit that isn't really telling you the truth, but I'm open to it. Because when you have a desire for truth in one area, but you have other false beliefs in you, you will attract the wrong person. It's happened to me so many times. So, Carol? Michaela, sorry, you mute?
Oh, yeah.
Or did I mute you? Sorry.
No, I think it was me. I noticed in myself this 2 weeks of going on the journey of these questions that I got to a place of connecting to that it's about being open to not knowing and receiving,
Okay.
being open to receiving. But then I noticed that what was triggered in me is that I'm afraid of everything. Like I'm really noticing at the moment how I'm afraid of so many things and how that is really impacting the information that I'm open to receiving.
Okay. I'm afraid of everyone. I'm afraid of all people. So it's the part I gotta work through. Okay, that's why I'm laughing. We're both Enneagram 6. It's a joke. How much fear we have. Thank you. Judith.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm afraid of everything. And I'm also, I guess you can be addicted to doubt, everything I doubt. So one minute I'll get something, the next minute, oh, well, was that real, you know? And
Yes.
also the addiction of wanting to be relevant, wanting people to like me, you know, wanting to be important.
Fame. Oh, I want fame so bad. So when I look at all these mediums on Netflix, I'm like, they got fame and I didn't. So I let myself rant about it. Like, hey, this has got to go. Because if I want fame, what kind of spirit am I going to attract? Those who want to be famous, they want to use me to be worshipped. So it's a thing. That then opens you up. Yeah. So, I mean, they're just addictions. It can be worked through. It's okay. Even when you're aware of it, I can feel in me going, oh, these spirits want to be worshipped. I can feel it. I can feel because I'm aware of my addiction. Even that's protecting you. Even if you haven't gotten rid of it, I think it's already protecting you someone. Yeah. What else? What other areas can you have? I have a friend who loves magical things. He wants to receive magical, cool information about the spirit world and angels and dragons. And I'm like, oh God, you know, you can just guess what kind of spirits are going to go to him. So what are some of yours, do you feel? Michaela.
I noticed for me, wanting perfection, so not being prepared to be wrong, so then just resisting even starting.
Yeah, there you go. That's yeah, exactly. I'm just calling it fiction. I'm just writing. I don't know if it's true. Or just okay. What else? Virginia?
I realize I've always felt that it's like it just wasn't one of my gifts.
Oh,
and
yes.
Then
special. Mediumistic people are special, right?
Yeah, I get. Yeah,
okay,
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and that that it wasn't one of my gifts, and that you had to be born with this gift to be able to do it. So sometimes when it happens for me, it doesn't come in like words. I know some people speak to spirits like you're having a conversation with, how I'm having a conversation with you right now. That for me, it comes in like in my knowing, it's like with feelings more.
Yeah.
Like, so it's, it's different. So I feel like I've judged that too much, that it's supposed to be the other way, where you have a conversation. And so, and then I like Judith can then always sometimes doubt what I'm getting. Did I get it right? Is that real? Like, and it's
I've given myself permission that it's probably wrong, and until I get there, I'm going to be wrong. And in order to get there, I'm going to have to go through this transition phases of being wrong. That's just what it's going to take to get better.
Yeah. So like now I have more of an understanding that we all have this to an extent, but that the clear communication is only those that have the special gift. Like, so I'm still tied up in that. And I
mean, I have an addiction to being special, and I definitely for the longest time feel like if I'm mediumistic, that's because I'm special. That took so long to work through. I don't even know if it's fully gone yet. But definitely there is this class feeling that comes on with like mediumistic, and then I will read Jesus' works who say it's not a big deal if you're mediumistic. Tantrum for a long time. Now it's over, I hope. Now I believe that. How can you not be mediumistic? Like, you're talking to God. How can you not be able to talk to God? That's just not done. That's impossible. God will not have a way for the two of you to have a relationship. That's impossible. What are you talking about? So that's where I'm at now about it. Yeah. Judith?
And what about when you judge yourself? Like, certain people are really good at mediumship, and then certain people kind of, they struggle a bit, but they still get the feeling. Yeah. And then you use that excuse as, well, I'm not really mediumistic because
you're tantruming. You're tantruming.
Yeah.
It should have been perfect. I should have been cool like them. Yeah. And so you're tantruming. If you can just see that, okay, I'm just having a tantrum. Having had the passion to teach people develop intuition for the past 20 plus years, and then seeing how my own gift has been changing over time, there's a lot of sweats. It's okay. You do, but then the way that I have developed has actually astounded me. I'm quite astounded with like, how did I get from there to here? How? Where? How did I? Cool. Oh my God. So I have kind of surprised myself in how the gifts have developed over time. This is one topic I'm very passionate about people developing or recognizing their gifts. Yeah. Selena.
Well, I find for myself, practicing a lot of mediumship with others is the progress that I make myself. So if I start developing a desire around, say, racism in myself, then I get attractions, and then somebody will pop up in my consciousness, a spirit that has, and I'll go, oh man, I'm so sorry, I never even thought of that. So they help me.
Yes.
And they're part of a team almost of helping me with those. It's like my guides bring them to. So I feel like the more I've just been processing stuff through creativity, and somebody else has sort of popped up in my, wanting to share some things with me. And it's just lovely, it's like you have blocks to people, or you're afraid of angry people. So how can you channel an angry person until you start working with some of that? You can't.
Very good point. These are very good point. And you can have mediumistic. So, for example, I'm very interested in God's truth about motivation, because that's how I confront the errors. I have a lot of spirit attacks, and one of my defenses, if you want to call it that, is what's God's truth about this issue? Now, if I want to receive God's truth, I gotta be open in that way, where I can receive God's truth. Or I'm very passionate about people that are stuck and trapped. So then I'm very interested in the mediumistic world because I want to go help people who are trapped, especially by false beliefs. Like, ugh. So then you see how your passion kind of go, and then I'm going, how does medical issue happen over there, and how do you work through that? I need to learn. So again, do you see that those interests opens the world in which I want to go see what happens, or I need to receive information in order to deal with those issues? So then this creates all of these highways in me that I'm interested in to work through. So these are some ways in which you can inspire yourself. But I'm just noticing that this chapter that was very exciting for me seems to not be as exciting for some of you here, because I have a feeling that there's some blocks here you have about mediumistic, about being like Robert James Lee's. There's some stuff here that's being stirred up for you guys. If you could recognize it as I'm being triggered. These are blocks that are being triggered. It's not reality, it's not truth. I'm just being triggered. If you could recognize it like that, then you'll be able to work through it. Because I'm kind of a little bit surprised with the vibe going on in this room right now. Michael?
I'm noticing something, and I don't know how to link it really or make a question. But that is, I haven't done mediumship with Robin for a couple of years, and I felt like I failed or washed out because my emotional palette was small. I wasn't, but we haven't really talked much about emotion here and emotional connection. We're talking about other qualities that make a medium. And so my idea of what's required in mediumship is kind of being taken apart, and it's not coming back together.
Okay, good one. Well, I'm talking about passion and desire and curiosity. I mean, those are emotions. And then, like Selena has said, once you start working through a certain issue in yourself, you start to then be open to helping those people in similar issues or be helped by them. Like for the longest time, when I was really at the early stages of working through having to feel about sexual abuse, I would get pedophile spirits around me, haunting me and taunting me. And I'm like, now I'm going to have to go talk to them in order to kind of work through what is going on here. That was tough. But then there were lessons learned both ways. I was no longer afraid of them. And I was able to stand up to them and speak up and get God's feelings about stuff. And I also got some education myself with like, these are just people that are stuck in bad places, and lots of good things happen both ways. And usually the way mediumistic experience happens, God is getting everyone involved to grow in the experience. So my feeling is that your desire will take care of things. That, you know, like we're going to start this mediumistic group and we'll see how the experiment goes. But I trust that your own desire in like, I really want to have this happen, that desire will take care of it, and your triggers will start going. You'll get triggered, your blocks will get going, like it'll happen. It'll take care of it. we just gotta put a fire under your butt. Like, I would really like this to happen. This is the thing I'm interested in. If only I could talk to my God and get answers on A, B, C, D, E, like, wouldn't that be awesome? Well, there you go. Off you go. The journey's begun. So it doesn't take much. And so, therefore, the question I would like us to ask Aphraar is, what abilities or gifts do I have that I can develop to do mediumship? Let's ask Aphraar that. What abilities or gifts do I have? Virginia, we're assuming you have. I didn't ask, do I have gifts? I'm assuming, which one do I have that I can develop to do mediumship? Let's just get some facts in, and then you can decide if you want to do more about it. Do you need me to repeat the question or are we good? Good? All right, see you in a bit. All right, I'm really excited for your answers. What you got? Who wants to start? Michael, I saw that sad face on you. Come on, I gotta hear it. Oh, are you mute, Michael? You're mute.
I think my deconstruction is just beginning. I think of myself sometimes as the rich young man that was so invested in the earth kingdom that he could not pick up, he could not let go of it and follow the master. So,
Right.
so it's like, even though I've had an extra 2 weeks to work on these questions, I still didn't do them because always something came up.
Right.
So what I see, what you had said about lighting a fire under my butt is good, but the sympathy or the law of attraction is a perfect reflection of what my desire really is. And if it's not igniting, then it's, lukewarm.
Yeah.
So and if I have a real interest in spiritual growth, or like clearing my injuries and stuff, healing that, then I'll be asking those questions about life, and the spirit, those answers will be coming, and then the sympathy will be there.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just beginning to pull the curtain apart to some of the conditions that need to be there for the mediumship to exist.
Good point. No, that's actually true. When you start working through the pain and you're just suffering, then you're asking for help and you're trying to get answers and guiding truth and blocks. So you're absolutely right. Yeah, a lot of the mediumship communication in the past has been because I'm struggling with the addictions and getting through them. And so you're absolutely right, Michael. Good point. Once you start working through the issues, and the pain will make you start asking. Very good insight. Thank you. Actually, that's a really good answer. So there you go. Selena.
I really like my answer. I can really feel it more than write it down. It's a little hard. So curiosity. So be curious. Like there's hundreds of different groups of people, like with different, like based on race, based on culture, based on religion, based on geographic location, based on the poverty levels, based on their rich levels, based on, like, there's just so many categories of people. And if I'm not channeling people or getting guidance on certain groups of people, it's because I haven't developed a curiosity about them.
Yeah, you're really curious about people.
So, because I've actually had them go, talk to me sometimes about, you've never channeled this kind of a person. Why not?
Yeah.
And so there's so many categories, of that, like just as different as there are people, categories.
You're really interested in people and getting to know them and feel them.
And getting to know them. And there's so many attractions you can get, like to ask for those attractions. Like I've never channeled a Chinese person. How come? I probably don't like them. So how can I develop an empathy? That was the first thing that came to my head, because I have some issues around Chinese, right? So because I still have some blocks around that. So maybe bring me some attractions or some programming or something that gives me some understanding, a rapport with them, so that if a Chinese person does come up that feels an affinity for me, that would like some help, I can do that, but I can't if I'm blocked to them being Chinese. So,
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And
so
you can see everybody else. Everybody else
exciting.
listening can feel. Yeah. Can see how that would drive the desire. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Virginia, what did you get?
A couple of things.
Nice.
I realize that sometimes I don't try.
Yeah.
Because of this fear that I'm just going to find out that I'm not any good at it anyway.
Okay.
And that disappointment that it'll just never be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, which is totally wrong. And then I was shown I work a lot with energy, and I've been working with that more when I'm in people's auras, and my sensitivity to energy is increasing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm getting information for that person that is helpful to them. And just being more open to whatever I'm getting, and working with that that sensory.
Okay.
And
That's
maybe
awesome.
that's the way it'll work for me.
Why
That-
not? Because you're open to it, because you want to help, you want to know. You are the one who's opening the door from the inside on that part. So they'll take it and they'll help you develop that until something else happens. That's really good. But the fear of, what if I discover it's not my thing? I don't have this special thing. That fear will be good to get rid of, because I'm telling you, that is a fear, and which is means it's a lie. It's just not a thing. I absolutely do not accept it. It's just not a thing for me.
My law of
Thank you.
attraction has been bringing me a lot of things about my fears, to feel my fears, encouraging
Good
me.
one.
So
Nice.
we'll see what happens.
Judith?
Yeah, I got like kind of a list of what was like the real me, like curiosity, the desire for clarity. I want detail. I want to know things.
Nice.
I want to know how and why. I want to know what a person's time was like.
Oh, nice.
I want people to feel welcome. And then I also want to hear stories and learn of another person's life. And this is both an addiction, because I do live in a kind of a dream world most of the time. And, when you're reading or writing, you're completely projecting out of your world and going into another world.
Yeah.
And it's that, I'm just running away again. But I almost want to feel the experience of their lives, like I was dropped there, and feel all the sensory things that they felt.
Okay. Now you could ask your guide to bring you one of those stories to help you and them, because then the story will be given to you that is actually serving both of you together.
Right.
But your guide can use the same ability for you to get out of your own life, or for you to really enrich it. Guys, if your desire is for your guide to bring you somebody, then it's going to help you. Even though law of attraction is law of attraction, you'll be helped regardless. Like when I try to escape, I go into really scary stuff that I'm going, I'll go back to my own life and my own pain. Thank you. This is worse. Like, oh my God, you're like exaggerating my fear. What kind of escape is that? I try to read fiction book or watch stories from TV shows. They're worse than the emotion I try to get away from. It's like, that didn't work. So can't go wrong.
Yeah. And another thing was, I'm beginning to understand the basic truths about that we're all equal, and that we're worthy of speaking to people.
Wow.
Regardless of who they are, as well as, like, of course, like Abe Lincoln would want to speak to me. Why would he not, And and then anyone who's very developed as well would want to talk to me if I wanted to talk to them. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. I only got one answer, but that is enough. I probably, you know what? I probably don't have any mediumistic gift. I just didn't know and didn't care. How about that? My answer was, I had this strong feeling of, we can do this. This is possible. Let's start developing it. Let's just open the book. Let's just write the question. Let's just see what happens. That's my attitude. And that is my attitude. So, hey, I may have zero gifts to start with, but that's the attitude I have. We can do this. Come on, folks. Let's do this. That's the gift I have. That is helping to develop mediumism.
That's not very fearful. That's pretty bold.
Yeah, we can do this, folks. Come on, we're just talking to our guys. We're talking to God. Let's get over this. Let's do this. Come on, let's do it. And then I'll start to do the steps. Like, we're going to do this question and that question and this question, and we're going to set it up this way, and let's go. So whatever I have in that area is really good. Michael?
I heard Jesus say a long time ago that we can create aspects of our personality that we don't already have. You know, part of
Oh.
life is unfolding what God has given us.
Yeah, yeah,
As
right.
we grow, we can have desire to have other
Yes.
parts of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So even, and I could see a realized advanced person like Jesus, like exhausting all of his gifts and going, well, I want to do all these things
That's
too.
another thing.
You know?
Yeah.
So even if
Okay.
if none of us has the gift of mediumship, we can create
Yes.
it through a desire. God has that option
Yes.
for us.
I completely agree with that. When I was in a lot of suffering, a lot of struggle, very difficult situation in my childhood, I just decided I'm going to need to have some academic abilities and I'm going to need to get some A's. And I never once asked if I was smart because it didn't matter. It didn't matter if I was smart. It didn't matter if I could study. It was not a choice. I made a choice that I was going to get there. Let's go. That was the first thing I did when I was 12. And from that point on, I just started to develop the self-esteem to be able to stand up to a lot of abusers. But I didn't ask if I was good in my studies. I decided I need good grades. Let's go. Feisty little thing. I'm so glad I had that one thing that didn't make me just go, I want this. I probably don't know how and probably can't. And that does not matter in the least. So I spent a lot of time learning how to study so that I knew how to study. I didn't matter if I didn't know how or if I couldn't. So, yep. Okay. Thank you for today. This was a really good, I think it was a good meeting. I don't know. Everybody's pretty somber today. So we'll just see how we go. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mila. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.